Welcome back, children. Now we are going to a new topic, Roman numerals. Have you heard of this, children? Roman numerals. Roman numerals are numerals used by the Romans. They used letters instead of numbers. Okay, they started representing numbers in terms of letters. For that they had 7 basic symbols. Okay, so we will be discussing about that, and then we have to know some rules also for writing Roman numerals. Okay, children. Roman numerals. 7 basic symbols. These were the 7 letters they used, and using these 7 letters they wrote the rest of the numbers. Okay, so see this letter I. I is noted for 1. V is noted for 5. X is for 10. L for 50. C for 100. D for 500 and M for 1000. Okay, children. So these were the 7 letters they used for representing numbers. For I they did for 1. Okay. Using that they did some other numbers also. Okay, we will come to that. Now, see, you have I for 1. Have you seen this when you were in first standard? On your board, in your class board it was written, isn't it? Whether you were in first standard, when you came to second standard, how was the letter given? How was the letter given, children? It was 2 I's given over there, right? Yes or no? Yes. So 2 I's means it is 1 plus 1, that is equal to 2. Okay. When you came to third standard, how was the board? It was written as 3 I's together, right? Yes or no? 1 plus 1 plus 1 equal to 3. So 3 was represented as I. Then, now presently you are in 4th. How was the 4th standard board written? 4th standard board is written as IV. Why is it written like that? Why can't we write I? Why can't we write I 4 times? That is the first rule that you have to know. You can repeat a letter only 3 times, not more than that. That is the first rule, children. Letters can be repeated up to a maximum of 3 times only, not more than that. You cannot repeat a letter more than 3 times. Okay. So, first it was I, that you wrote it for 1. Then for 2 you wrote it as I. For 3 you wrote it as I. Okay, children. So, one letter can be repeated only 3 times. Understood? Now, next rule. Putting a letter before one of a bigger value means you subtract it. See, children, we know the letter I is 1 and the letter V is 5. So, which one is big over here? 5 is big. That means the letter V. Before V, I put the letter I. What is written over here? Putting a letter before a bigger value. Putting a letter before a bigger value. Here the bigger value is V. Okay. Before that bigger letter, bigger value, I put I. Means what? If I put a letter before a bigger value, what is the meaning of that? It means you are subtracting it. See, I have shown you in the example. We know 4 is written as IV. So, it means 5 minus 1, that is equal to 4. 5 minus 1, that is if you put I in front of V. V is bigger than I. So, if you put I in front of V, it means it is 5 minus 1. Why 1? Because I is 1. So, 5 minus 1, that is equal to 4. Okay, children. So, if you put a letter before a bigger value means you are subtracting over there. Okay. So, that is how we are getting 4. We know we cannot write 4 as I. You cannot repeat a letter more than 3 times. So, our next option is, we know in the 7 basic symbols you have seen V is 5. Okay. So, to write 4, what we can do? We need to minus 1, we can get 4. So, to minus 1, what you did? before we put the letter I. Okay children, you'll copy this. After that you'll copy this. Then, now the third rule, putting a letter after one of a larger value. Earlier it was before. Now you will put after. See again, V is a larger value. After V, I put I. Means what? You are adding it. That is 5 plus 1 equal to 6. So how was 6 written? V, I. How was 4 written? I. 4 was written as I, V. 5 was written as, 5 is V. Then when you come to 6, V, I. Understood children? Okay. Now how will you write 7? Children, how will you write 7? You'll write V and you'll put I. This is how you write 7. Because we can repeat I 3 times, isn't it? So, V, I. And you know I is 2. So, this will become as 5 plus 2, that is equal to 7. Understood children? Now, how will you write 8? Again, we can write V, I. You know I is 3. So, you get 5 plus 3, that is equal to 8. So, 8 is written as V, I. Okay. Now, how will you write 9 children? Can you write V and 4 I's? No, that is not possible because you cannot repeat a letter more than 3 times. So, what will you do? What will you do children? Can you please tell me? See children, we know X is 10. Yes? So, how will you write 9? We know 9 is 10 minus 1, that is equal to 9. So, what you have to do? Before X, you will put I. Clear children? Before X, you will put I. That means, I have already told you, when you put a letter before a bigger value, here X is 10, which is big. So, 10 minus 1, you will get 9. Okay? So, Ix is 10. Then you have 10 as X. How will you write 11? You will put I after X. Means what? It is 10 plus 1, that is equal to 11. Clear? Now, how will you write 12? It is X, I, that is equal to 12. 10 plus 1 gives you 12. Similarly, you can write 13, X 13. 10 plus 3 will give you 30. Okay children? Go back to the rules again. So, that was the third rule. If you put a letter after a larger value, means you have to add it. And then what was the next rule that we learned? You cannot repeat a letter more than 3 times. Then putting a letter before a bigger value means you are subtracting it. Okay. Now, fourth one. V is never repeated and subtracted. You cannot repeat the letter V. You cannot write V. You cannot write like that. Okay. V is never repeated. Also, V is not subtracted. That means you cannot put V in before any letter. Subtraction means you put a letter before it, isn't it? You cannot put V before any letter. Suppose you cannot write V. You cannot write V before X. This is wrong. So, V is never repeated and never subtracted. Okay, children? Then, letter I. Letter I can be subtracted from V and X only. Letter I can be subtracted only from Vx. You can only put I before V and I before X. What was IV? It was 4 and Ix was 9. Clear children? So, I can be subtracted only from V and X. So, you can put I only before V and X. You cannot put I before any other letter. Okay children? Now, using these 3 letters I, V and X, the Romans were able to write the numbers up to 39. Using these 3 letters I, V, X, they were able to write the numbers up to 39. Okay? So, are you clear with the rules, children? You cannot repeat a letter more than 3 times. You put a letter before a bigger value means it is minus. If you put a letter after a bigger value means you can add it. Then the letter V is never repeated and never subtracted. You cannot repeat the letter V and you cannot write the letter V before any larger value. And I can be subtracted only from Vx. That is, I can be put only before V and before X, not before any other letter. Clear, children? Please go through the rules and you have to copy this into your notebook. Thank you.